Those that have eyes to see, we live in this like amazingly kind of rich world that's kind of, flowering its kind of knowledge upon us. And so I've been into my cubes and things for a few years, and it was meeting Jamie only like last December. He came down to Glastonbury to do a talk where I live, and I was immediately like, whoa, what on earth is happening to my brain? And then it turns out that a lot of his work is based around his birthday, which is the 28th of August. And so this was my father's birthday and also the day that my father passed. So I knew that, right, okay, if we're looking, at numbers, there's something quite astonishing here. The chances of that happening, you can get your calculator out. And it's kind of like near impossible, really, in this logical world we live in. And so I'm absolutely charmed to be in Scotland. It's so brilliant to come up here and to hear that beautiful accent and see the beautiful countryside and to spread my kind of like findings, which I put aside for a few years really, until I met Jamie, and Jamie kind of said, no, come on Michael, that's quite important stuff you have. And because when I first discovered it a few years ago, it didn't really get any traction. So maybe it'll get a bit more traction these days. And so there's like a couple of things that I'm going to present, and they're all about the number 9. And because the number, what you were sitting on, you might be sitting on, or you might be holding it, is a little map of the cube seal, which I'm going to talk about in the second half of my little 2 things that I'm going to talk about. So the cube seal is something that came to me, and that's a little thing that I'll explain how you can cut it out and fold it into a cube, and you just get a very it just folds up into this little cube. But I'll talk about that in a minute, because this is kind of what creates universes, or every kind of law in the universe emanates from this sacred geometric thing that I discovered kind of by accident. But as a kind, so it's all about the number 9, this cube. See, I'll talk about it a second, because it's a little warm up to the Tower of Time maybe. So the number 9 is the almighty number, that John Lennon sung about. And the thing about the number 9 is it's everything and nothing. There is, this kind of 3D mathematics where, of course, the number 9 shows itself when it's 9 o'clock. But inside the cube seal, the number 9 never shows itself, because the number 9 is all or nothing. So the number 9 is like a 0 and a 0. And you can't see a number 9 anywhere in here, because number 9 is everything. You can't see everything at once, it's impossible. We haven't got that many eyes. And you can't see nothing either, because there's nothing to see. So you can't actually see everything all at once, and you can't see nothing. So the number 9 in this never appears, only in everything about it is the number 9, because it's the 9 by 9 by 9 cube. And every little number in it is just an expression of 9. The number 9 never shows itself. But I'll come back to that later, because this is a little party piece that's quite kind of light entertainment, but it has entertained people in the past, and hopefully it'll entertain you a little bit this evening. But this is what I call the Tower of Time. And it comes in a beautiful, slightly ecclesiastical box. And this is, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like Paul Daniels.
You're lucky.
The dove comes out. I think I probably look like Paul Daniels if I take my hat off. You're not keep my hat on, it's more stylish. Okay, so this is a set of 9 cubes. They're nested, and so here really we've got, it's a little bit the same as the cube seal. It's a 9 by 9 by 9 cube. So this is a 9 by 9 by 9 cube, and this is kind of one kind of possible explanation of how time has unfolded in our consciousness and where we are in the unfolding of time at this very moment. And I'll tell you, we're somewhere very, very exciting at the moment in the unfolding of time. So congratulations, everybody, for staying alive and being here. So the first distinct cycle of time comes from this extremely lazy, long fellow, the biggest cube, the 9 by 9 by 9 cube. And we started measuring time at the year 0, because that's when baby Jesus was born and stuff. And anyway, we're all pretty hooked up with that. We're in the year 2023, and everyone's kind of quite happy with that. So I won't argue with that. I mean, of course you can if you're going by different calendars, but you know, for our experience, 2023 pretty much around the world, I think, is the general kind of standard year that we're in. So we started measuring time at the year 0. And we had all this joyous time to experience nineness, which is a kind of a bit of a Pythagorean concept of contemplating one number for a long, long time and experiencing the beauty of it. So the beauty of the number 9, it gives us a total of 729 numbers. Or in this case, it's 729 like cells or blocks, or it's 729 years for this demonstration. And so we experienced this number 9 cube from the year 0 till the year 729. And what happened in Britain in that period, I guess, we had the Romans arrived, the Romans left, we forgot how to make pottery. I guess we started remembering how to make pottery, and we kind of ambled our way beautifully and leisurely to the year 729. And we don't have, a great deal of history. I can't really think of too many great events that happened in the year 729. There's probably some saint somewhere did something very righteous or something. But really, I call this like the kind of age of leisure, where there was very little new technology. So you basically did what your father did and what his father did. You probably farmed the land, and really, you were just a bit of a blueprint of your father, really. You had pretty much the same experience as your great-great-great-grandfather was probably doing much what you were doing, which was enjoying the bees and the summers rolling by and green grass and whatever people were up to in that period. They didn't really leave much record, apart from, they call it the Dark Ages and so forth. So nineness was a deliciously kind of long, leisurely experience of the number 9. Then, after many reincarnations, we got to experience the number 8. So this number 8 gives us the 8 by 8 by 8 cube, which is 512 years. And these are distinct cycles of time. So that number 8, it brought us to the year 1241. And so we start to, have a little bit more record of what was happening in 1241. Well, what was actually happening in 1241 is pretty mind-blowing, really. They were building, finishing these massive abbeys and cathedrals using this kind of technology that the Templars had apparently discovered on their crusades to the Holy Land, and they were rushing back to Europe, burning down all the old, well, a bit controversial maybe, but it's funny how some of the old abbeys burnt down, like Glastonbury, just in time to rebuild it as a super abbey, like all the abbeys being built. They were all in full swing about the year 1241. I think Chester Cathedral was opened in 1241, and a lot of the abbeys were all under construction or almost finished then. But it was a great age of architecture. So somehow we'd gone from, just kind of like the leisurely 729 years. We'd had a bit more time now. We'd had 512 years to kind of get on with like building these massive, having the consciousness to visualize these structures and to manifest them. It's beyond my mind how it was done, really. But anyway, that's what we did. And so we'd achieved, quite a lot by then in the Tower of Time. The next distinct cycle of time comes courtesy of the number 7. So 7 by 7 by 7 is 343 years. And we can stack that onto 1241, and it takes us to the year 1584, which is beautiful. It was the Elizabethan age. It was the kind of age of discovery, the Renaissance. And we had the formation of the British Navy. The Spanish Armada came in 1588, but 1584, sorry, we're ready for you. We were king of the seas by then. The ultimate pirates, if you will. So we have these ships. We could go anywhere in the world. We could kind of rule the seas by now in 1584. We also were about to have Shakespeare kind of expand the language with many, many new words, expressions, and Marlowe introducing all these new words into our language. So it was a kind of a flowering of expression as well. And we had that beautiful flowering of music. You also had John Dee. This was the peak of John Dee's career, really, where he was out in Prague, summoning angels, and Queen Elizabeth's astrologer, and all this. It gets far more full of intrigue, and the birth of the Secret Service. And so now things are changing a little bit. But for this demonstration, we have ships. So we could leisure cathedrals, abbeys. Now we've got ships. And there's a lot more you could say about 1584 or that transition for humanity and consciousness that was happening around that period. Anyway, you can see where we're going, can't you? The 6 by 6 by 6 distinct cycle of time is 216 years. And this took us to the fabulous year of 1800. And you can already, there's a little glimpse of the magic of cubes. Okay, so the 6 by 6 by 6 takes us to 1800, and 3 6s are 18. So there's a nice little bit of, unity and solid structure here. So leading up, just before we'd reached the 1800, I guess we have the Enclosure Act of 1773, which was really bad news for people because it meant that we couldn't graze our animals anymore, and we had to go and work in the cities. Really, we were being kind of forced off our land, off the free land. So in 1800, lots of things actually happened in the year 1800. You have the invention of the battery by Alessandro Volta in Italy in 1800. You had the birth of the United the Act of Union, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. It was all cooked up in 1800 and came into act on January the 1st, 1801. And that was when they, of course, 1800, they had to invent the new Union flag. So, these events kind of happen at these very precise moments in the Tower of Time. 1800, it was also pretty much the invention of highly compressed steam, which previous to that, steam wasn't really running on very much high pressure. But it was an ancestor of mine, Richard Trevithick, that worked out how to really get that pressure into the steam, to pump out the Cornish tin mines. And so you had this kind of revolution in steam. By 1804, Trevithick had got the first steam locomotive rolling up Cambourne Hill, and this led to the railways, which all came pretty much soon after that. It was all built up to the railways. So, you also had, Napoleon was setting out on his rampage. Bless him. Not tonight, Josephine. But yeah, and so I think he kind of pretty much redesigned Italy. I guess a lot happened then. But for this demonstration, we have steam. So we've got trains, we go everywhere. We could sit around enjoying ourselves, we could build cathedrals, we could sail anywhere. Now we can go anywhere by train. There's loads of things you could probably say about 1800 that I can't quite remember at the moment, but that's why I'm just wrapping this whole thing. No notes. Just my memory. This distinct cycle of time sees things, I think people are walking a bit faster now in this 5 by 5 by 5 cube. You know, we're getting on with things, you know, we've got places to be, deadlines to meet, things are quickening up a bit. And this is 125 years. So that took us from 1800 to 1925. So by this time, we've got, you know, the Chrysler Motor Corporation founded in 1925. So we've really racing into the age of stylish cars. Aeroplanes, all the kind of airlines are kind of forming around 1925. We've got cinema, we've got radio. So things are like moving a lot quicker. Even I think the kind of Charleston and the dancing, it was all picking up speed. And then of course you have, you know, the terrible kind of financial crash where everybody has their money stolen, you know, which is the same old story. So there we are. I'll end there. No, I won't. I'll carry on.
Do.
But you dread where this is going, everyone. So the number 4 gives us the distinct cycle of time of just 64 years. So we put that on top of 1925 and we get to 1989. The Simpsons. So yeah, this is when they started showing us how time really works. With The Simpsons, first episode of The Simpsons, playing with us, toying with us. So we also have like the birth, you know, the beginning of the World Wide Web in 1989, and also the first kind of like cell phones in America. Where are you? I told you I couldn't be here. Okay, hurry up. Time speeding up. We also had, you know, the fall of the Berlin Wall. If you look at kind of world events in 1988 or 1990, you don't get a lot. In 1989, it was all happening then. Tiananmen Square riots, big earthquake in California. But I'll call this the birth of the kind of internet. So we've got leisure and very nice. Cathedrals, abbeys, ships, trains, motor cars, aeroplanes. Now we've got this internet, which is great because it's all going to make our lives a lot easier and we'll have a lot more free time. We're laughing until the 3 by 3 by 3 cube. There's just 27 years in this cycle of time. So we have to kind of get on with whatever we've got to learn in, you know, down here. In those 27 years, we had as much time in those 729 years. We were so lucky then, it was great. But now, you know, things are really speeding up. And this took us to the year 2016. Another big kind of landmark year, because it was the year that we all got, you know, everybody's favorite Donald Trump came into power. Not everybody's favorite, oh no. And then we also had Brexit here in 2016. And well, for this kind of technological demonstration, I'll say that we had, you know, this next kind of phase of computers, which, you know, we're going to make our lives even better because they're smart and we're not smart. Anyway, so we have these kind of computers that are kind of like, they've got slightly uglier faces than before. They've got slightly gnarlier teeth. They've got lots of eyes and they're looking at you all the time. So yeah, in 2016 we had a lot of big political events, but we also had these, you know, computers going to the next level. So now, luckily, we've still got a little bit of time left because we're experienced the number 2 cube. So this cycle of time went very, very quick, and we're still not quite through it yet. Because the middle of this 2 by 2 by 2 cube was 2020. And you might remember the new, well, in England, the new £20 note came out on the 20th of the 2nd, 2020. And yeah, it was all like carefully designed, or somehow it fits all very perfectly. So when we reach 8 years, when we reach 2024, we're in for another surprise if you go down to the woods. Because this is, I don't know, if there's anything in this, then we are to expect something in 2024 in terms of like really like amazing, technology. So this could be when the computer, it's probably something to do with computers, or it could be something to do with consciousness, or maybe a mixture of both. But anyway, in 2024, next year, this is where this ties in a little bit with Jamie's work, which is a lot about the third great American eclipse on the 8th of April 2024 in America. So 2024, we've got something to deal with there. It might be a bit AI, we might have to like not touch our phones for a while or something. But then, finally, the 1 by 1 by 1 cube sits upon the Tower of Time, completing it at the year 2025. So, the numbers, the even numbers 2, 4, 6, 8 add up to 20, and the odd numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 add up to 2025. The numbers 1 to 9 add up to 45, and 45 squared is, wait a minute, 2025. So we're kind of locked into this paradigm, or this illusion, or this wonder of the number 9. And so this is possibly why we're getting all these updates, and our mobile phones only last like a couple of years, and then they go all zonky and you have to get a new one. And everything's a constant like race as technology is exceeding at an exponential rate, perhaps. So, so who knows what's going to happen when we reach 2025, apart from, hopefully it'll just be one big party.
Farewell party.
Yeah, so you have to remember 25 you've got a party every night, because we don't know what's happening at the end. Yeah. So that is the Tower of Time, ladies and gentlemen. And you can make of it what you will, but it is quite uncanny. And it was just a little discovery I made a few years ago, and I didn't really put it on the internet very much because I didn't want to scare people. But no, there's nothing to be scared about, but it does show that we're in a very important time, that we're going through some kind of threshold unless we completely ignore it. But I don't think you're going to see this on the BBC. You might do. So, yeah, any little questions on that? Because I think Jamie's going to give me about 45 minutes. So, I can take a little comment on it if anybody wants to shoot something at me.
What happens after that?
I think I've heard that question before.
Yeah.
And I don't have an answer. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Show me some more saying.
At 2025, does the cycle start again, so we go back to the number 9 cube?
That's up to you, darling. Anyway, I've got a lot more to get on with. So now I'm going to talk about, move that side a minute, Chrysler Building. Yeah, so on your seats on the way in, there was Jamie asked me if I could like do a little handout or something. So I thought the best thing I could do would be to make a little card that could be cut out and folded into your own cube seal. So all you've got to do with that card is cut around the outside of it, and then when you come to folding it, before you fold it up, any edge that needs folding, just score it with a biro, either on the front or the back. And then with a bit of glue or a bit of double-sided, you can put it all together, and you've got your own little cube seal. And it might be very useful one day. It might be a map out of here. So, I'll tell you how the cube seal is built. It's just built, the very first row in it, you probably won't be able to see it, it's a bit too small, but you have to take my word for it. The very first row, it just comes from the 9 times table, but any number from the 9 times table that has the number 9 in it can't exist. So it doesn't appear. And this leads to an extraordinary, the most extraordinary thing I can possibly ever put into anybody's minds ever. And so the first row, it starts with a 0 or a nothing. And then the first expression of number 9 is 18. So this, again, prepping for Jamie's presentation, number 18 is pretty much the kingpin. It's the first number to appear in this kind of number and time generating. It's a number generator, kind of the cube seal. So you've got the number 18, and it goes through, it can sail through the 9 times table perfectly well. 27, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72, 81. Then it goes 90, can't have 90. So really the first row is just made up of the numbers 18 to 81, which is where you see the 1818 or the 1188. However you want to look at that permutation of numbers, you've got 2 1s and you've got 2 8s, or 1818, which is the time of the Great Eclipse in 2024. And the Notre Dame fire, because I've learnt my Jamie Arthur pickup stuff by reading it repeatedly, which is good. It's all repetition, isn't it, really? So, you know, that's gone in. So 18 to 81. Okay, if you add these numbers up, you get 396. And then if you divide them, since I'm looking, even though I filled up my first cell with the number 0, I wrote a row of 9 numbers going along my first column. And these numbers are actually, the very first number in the cube seal is 0000, because they're all 4-figure numbers in there. The second number is 0018, and so on. And you add up those numbers to 396, and you divide it by 9, you get 44. Because everything's built out of 4s, because 4 is the number of kind of structure. You can carry on filling out that first floor of the cube seal by continuing the 9 times table. So you can't have 90, you can't have 99, but bingo, you can have 108. So we begin the next row with 108. And that carries on to 180. Then you can't have 189 because that's got a 9 in it. And so you carry on laying it out, and then you can lay out the whole first floor of 81 windows or cells, and you can put 81 versions, 81 the unfolding of the 9 times table, but without any 9s in it. And the very last number you can put on that top floor is 882, because you can't have 891 because it's got a 9 in it. So the magic of the 9 is that all the 9 times table, it's always an expression of 9. The digits always add up to 9, like, you know, with 45 and 54. All comes back to 9. But with the cube seal, the number 9 cannot show itself because it's busy creating worlds and creating the dimension of time. So you can add up that whole first floor of 81 numbers, all from the 9 times table, but the number 9 one's not in there. And you'll get the total. I was going to say you can leave your phones on because you might want to get your calculator out to check or what have you. But you add up that whole first floor and you get 35,963. If you want to work out the average of each cell, you can divide by 81, because you have 81 cells that you filled out. And it turns out that the average for each cell, when you go into 2 dimensions like that, it's 444. So you've gone from the average being 44 for one row to the average being 444 for the whole of the top floor. So the whole thing's kind of centered around 4s. So you can carry on going down the layers of this cube seal. And you can fill out all 9 floors. And then you can get to the very, very last cube, the 729th cube. And it's the number 8883. Anyway, you can add up all the numbers, all those 729 numbers from your 9 times table without 9s. And you get a big total of 3,239,676. 3 million. And you can say, right, what's the average for each cell now? So you divide that number by 729, and the average for each cell now is 4444. So we're looking at something very magical here, but the more you carry on studying the cube seal, the more magic it can kind of pump out. So the number in the very middle of the cube seal is a hypercube because it's a 9 by 9 on the outside, but inside it is a 7 by 7 by 7 cube, and inside that is a 5 by 5 by 5 cube, and inside that, as you get closer to the core, is a 3 by 3 by 3 cube. But inside there's just one cube, and that is the number 4446. So the number 4446 is very clever because it's known as a non-agonal number. It can create 9-sided shapes. And it's the 36th number that is able to create 9-sided shapes. So right in the middle of this cube seal, you've got the number 4446, throwing out its 9-sidedness. Everything is absolutely perfectly balanced. And another thing you can look at, if you start at the 0 point in one corner, you'll come down to the very last number, 8883. And you'll find that that is the 16th Fibonacci spiral of the number 9. Because the 16th Fibonacci number is 987. But instead of starting with a 1 as your Fibonacci number, if you start as a 9, you can do 16 spirals. 16, by the way, is 4 by 4 by 4. And after that 16th spiral, you'll come out at the other side with the number 8883. Which is another, it's got a very happy little group of families. The triple numbers, which is why people on this kind of like angelic path these days, they see a lot of triple numbers everywhere. And your eye is just lit up by triple numbers, especially, on motorways. It's beautiful, 777, 999. You think, why is my consciousness doing this to me? But the triple numbers in the cube seal are they're the master numbers. So the triple numbers that you'll find in the cube seal, there's only 8. Triple ones, triple twos, triple threes, triple fours. So for example, the triple ones, well, they'll only appear in the cube seal if they come in with a number 6, because that will make them add up to 9. So the triple ones only appear as 1116, 1611, 1161, or 6111. So in the cube seal, that's you have 4 permutations of these 8 master numbers. So in the cube seal, all those numbers, all the permutations beginning with a 1 appear on the second floor. That's where all the 1s hang out on the second floor. But that final permutation of 6111 hangs out on the 7th floor. And these make a tetrahedron, encompassing a lot of numbers inside, which are very magical tetrahedrons because they all have a lot of values of things like 4995 or 49995. And this is a number that Jamie gets in his work as well, or 59994. You get these crystals, these tetrahedrons, they're all absolutely symmetrical. There's 8 of them appearing inside the cube seal. There's one of them, my favourite tetrahedron inside the cube seal is probably with the very last number, 888, which, because 3 8s to 24, it has to come in with a 3 to make 27 to break down to 9. So the triple 8s are always hanging out with a 3. So the very last number, 8883. Its other 3 members of its 4 permutations, 3888. Another beautiful number. I saw it written on the side of a lorry driving up here. Yes. And I saw the number 6444 on the side of a lorry, which is another. So, in the cube seal, this beautiful little tetrahedron happens in the corner. It happens in the bottom corner. And what you can basically do, because you can pull off this tetrahedron, it's like, gotcha. And you can look at it and you can add up all the numbers on it. And if you add up all the numbers that you pulled off on that tetrahedron, it's 419,958. And it's like, oh yeah, big deal, okay. But with these numbers, you can break them down because they all have common divisors. So the total of the cube seal is 3 million bloody-da. You can bust it open, divide it by 1111, you know, the angel number 1111, divide it by 54, and it breaks down to 54. So really the whole value of the cube seal breaks down to 54. When you pull off this tetrahedron on the corner, it's got this value of 419958. You can divide it by 1111, you can divide it by 54, and it's 7. And it's like, oh my God, I've just pulled off a 7. And the rest of the cube just has got 2 million something or other left in it. And you divide that by the common divider, 1111, and 54, and you get 47, which is, you know, it's silver, it's the element of silver, 47. So basically you've got the silver, the moon, because a lot of people say that we're being kind of projected through the moon into this numerical kind of matrix. So you've got 47 and 7. Of course, 7 is the earthly number. 7's how we measure, you know, everything down here on Earth, because it's the kind of, it's the interdimensional number. 7s and 1s, you can't really put your finger on them, you know. Pentagons, hexagons, they're all nice, but the seven-sided star is a bit more interesting. So funny that you've got the number 7 and the number 47. And of course, you know, if you flip the number 47 around to its partner, you've got 74, you've got energy, you've got the element tungsten with 74, as opposed to the silvery moon with 47. And it goes along into this kind of world like this. But you know, I could literally go on about this for hours, but there's so many beautiful things. But then, only recently, after meeting Jamie, I started to look at these totals and to divide them, break them down with the number 60, because this is how we measure time. And this is when the whole thing really opens up into madness, when you start adding up, looking at these totals and dividing it by 60, and suddenly it just, or you divide it by seconds and minutes, you divide it by 60 twice. And then suddenly these massive great totals that you've been, you know, adding up for weeks and checking, suddenly they all flip back to 999 just by, you know, zapping with 60s. So everything is so perfectly fractally flowering inside the cube seal that this is the reason I'm here, is to hopefully, you know, get a bit more popularity in it, because I go hot and cold on things. You know, I play music, I do this, I do that, and I might put the cube seal down for a while. But I'm really hoping that somebody will kind of pick up the cube seal and look at it in a way that I haven't looked at it, because there are endless worlds, and I think you can create worlds with them. You just keep throwing 9s at it. All it takes is 9s, and 9s are nothing. We've got endless 9s to play with. They don't cost anything. They're just everywhere. Everything is 9. So you could probably even just visualize a cube seal in your head. And with this new conscious power that we're going to receive as we go through this threshold, we can actually create worlds in our head. That kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I'll probably leave you with those kind of thoughts, but maybe I might say one or two other things, but that might be inspired by some questions. And I'm sorry about my cheeky answers for this. I promise that any questions about the cube seal will be treated with great regard and my finest attention. So, I know it's a bit much to take in, isn't it? I mean, the reason I found the cube seal is because I'm interested in Frederick Bligh Bond, who was the first psychic archaeologist that was put in charge of excavating Glastonbury Abbey in 1907. And he started speaking to all these dead monks and got all this amazing information. And so he was an expert on gematria, and he wrote a book. And I got hold of this book, which is quite hard to get hold of, and opened a page, and then I saw this 9 by 9 by 9 cube, just blank. And I went, oh my God, I think I can fill that with numbers. I think I know how this works. And this was called the stone, the gematria of this cube, or it's called the stone, the kind of foundation stone, if you will. Yeah, and it's all about foundation stones, isn't it? And this is why we're here. It's all about rocks and stones and masonry. But I wonder if anyone's ever found this before. But I think the reason why I found it is because I dug up a very old stone and I dug up a magic wand, and I think when I touched the magic wand, I think I put that stone and that wand there a couple of thousand years ago. And I was lucky enough through dowsing to retrieve that stone that I put there a couple of thousand years ago. And I think that's probably where it came from. But, oh yeah, there's one other thing. You can see it's all a little bit higgledy-piggledy. Like, I've just, on this particular one here, I've filled in, I've highlighted any cell that shows a 0. So if it's only got 1 0, it gets coloured in just around the outside. If there's 2 zeros in it, it gets coloured in full. So, you know, we've got all the 0, 0, 18. These are all the those. But it doesn't really actually work until you spin it. And to show you this, I know it's only a small cube, but this is where it gets nasty, folks. Bad. Don't be scared, nothing's going to happen. Yeah, but if you kind of watch what happens when it spins, all the lines kind of straighten out, and it just kind of works a lot better when it's spinning. Everything doesn't look so messy, it looks smoother. That was my grand finale.